What is Mindfulness Meditation? By Venerable Ashin Tejaniya. Let's talk a little bit about meditation. At this center, we practice Satipatthana or mindfulness meditation on the four foundations of mindfulness, which includes body, feelings, mind, and Dharma. However, before we begin, we need some clarity on what we are doing and why we are doing it. It's important to begin this practice like we would any major project, with an understanding of the ideas and underlying principles behind what we will be doing. We need the right background information and right ideas regarding the nature of mindfulness meditation so that we can practice skillfully. We don't want to start blindly. What is mindfulness meditation? What is our purpose in practicing? What kind of mind and what kind of attitude should there be when we are meditating? How do we practice? To me, mindfulness meditation is basically working to transform the mind. Meditation is about cultivating wholesome states of mind, nurturing a Dharma mind, and bringing out the good qualities in the mind. Mindfulness meditation is not work done by the body or work done by objects, which is happening, what is being observed, further explained in the section What are objects? Objects do not meditate. It is the mind that meditates. That's why meditation is called mind work. And that's why you need to know about the mind. How do you know that there is a mind? How do you know that you have a mind? How do you know that you have a mind? You can see or observe the mind through its workings and functions, such as knowing, thinking, experiencing, feeling, wanting, focusing. Now, put your hands together and look at your clasped hands. You know that your hands are touching, right? How do you know this touching sensation? What is the mind doing that you are able to know this? You know because the mind is aware and paying attention to it. Do you know that the mind is paying attention and aware? Would you know that your hands were touching if your mind was thinking about something else? No. So you can see that it is not merely because your hands are touching that you know, but because the mind is paying attention and awareness is a quality that is a part of this attention that you know they are touching. Can you shift your attention from your palms to your feet? You can, right? This shift in attention is actually the mind at work. It is the mind paying attention. If you know that you are paying attention, then you're aware of the mind. There is no need to go searching for the mind, as everyone more or less knows it. Knowing, thinking, planning, and intentions are all workings of the mind. It's just not as easy at first to recognize the mind as it is other objects because of a lack of understanding of what the mind is. Now let's talk about persistence. What kind of effort do we need when we are meditating? Right now, how many people know of only one type of effort, which is energetic forcing effort? However, it is wrong effort when it is motivated by craving, aversion, which is not wanting, or delusion, which is also confusion. This type of effort will only feed more unwholesome stress, or sometimes called defilement, in the process. How then do we meditate? We use the wholesome effort and the right effort of patience and perseverance in our practice. Awareness needs to be balanced. Confidence in oneself and faith in the practice should be balanced. Energy or effort should be balanced. These spiritual faculties, along with stability of mind and wisdom, make up the 5 spiritual faculties working together in meditation. You can't say that you are practicing insight meditation or vipassana when you are just focusing or paying attention, because vipassana itself is the practice of learning about the mind and body processes. So who is meditating here? You are not meditating. It is the ideas operating in the background, in the mind, that are meditating. If these underlying ideas are wrong, then the rest of the meditation will be done the wrong way. Only with the right idea, right attitude, and right understanding in the meditating mind, which is the mind that's aware or the observing mind, do you have right practice. The information here, Dharma discussions, Dharma discourses, and reminders are all meant to give us right information. We then use this information, what we have learned, heard, and know about right practice, as well as our intelligence during the practice, which is a type of wisdom, in order for wisdom to develop. We need right view and right thinking. We also need inquiry and Dharma investigation, which is the investigation of phenomena, and reflection on how we are observing or practicing while we are practicing. The emphasis is on the need for wisdom along with the awareness, also referred to as awareness wisdom, so that the wisdom acquired through direct experience has a chance to arise. The meditating mind, the mind that is aware, or the observing mind, needs to be a Dharma mind, which is a wholesome mind. We can't say we are meditating properly when we are practicing with craving, fear or aversion, or delusion operating in the meditating mind. When we are practicing with wanting or expectations, we are meditating with greed. When we practice with dissatisfaction and discontent, we are meditating with aversion. When we practice without having a real understanding of what we are doing, we are meditating with delusion. A part of the work in meditation is to begin to recognize unwholesome tendencies when they arise. We can't help having these motivations while trying to meditate. We can recognize when there are wrong or unwholesome tendencies, and when there are right or wholesome tendencies and their corresponding effects. This means learning what is wholesome and what is unwholesome. To do this, we use the theoretical information we get, as well as our intelligence and wisdom while practicing to recognize when there are defilements or negativity in the mind. We also need to appreciate this process of learning. Now, what are objects in meditation? We use the word objects. What is the meaning of an object? An object is what we experience, what we observe, and something that is known by the mind. There is always something happening, so there is no lack of things to observe. They are all happening or arising according to their nature. In mindfulness meditation, we are not controlling our experiences. We observe when something happens or arises. The mind's attention is attracted to it, and so we observe it. The nature of an object is to be known, sensed, or experienced by the mind. How many sense doors are there? There are 6 sense doors. How do we observe the sense objects? Is the mind at work? While we need an understanding of the object side, we also need to recognize that meditation is not done by the objects. Meditation is done by the mind. That's why, in order to practice well, it's important to understand the mind, including how it observes, how it works, and its underlying attitudes. What kind of mind are we meditating with? When we are focused on an object, we can't see the workings of the mind. When we look through the glasses we are wearing at what we want to see, we may not realize that we have glasses on. Likewise, if there's too much focusing on objects, we no longer see the mind, what it's doing, or how it's operating. If we don't concentrate so much on an object, we may at least realize that we are wearing glasses. That's how the mind works. So objects in meditation can be the breath, it can be feelings of happiness, it can be feelings of sadness. So if we are really absorbed and focusing on these objects, they will become like the glasses that we wear and we don't realize we have these glasses on. So that's what that paragraph is saying. So the mind is meditating, meaning awareness knows. When there is breath, awareness knows there is pain, or awareness knows there is happiness, and we don't get lost in these objects. That's what that paragraph means. That's why I caution you not to focus if your goal is to get a complete picture and to understand the nature of mind and objects. Do you understand? That's why I caution you not to focus if your goal is to get a complete picture and to understand the nature of mind and objects. Do you understand? When you practice, the difference between what you observe and how you're observing, or the act of observing, will become even clearer. In other words, this knowledge of the object and the mind will become clearer. You recognize for yourself, oh, this is object and this is the mind, and that their natures are different. You see this as you are practicing. I'm explaining this to you now so that you have the information to help you when you are meditating. Think about this carefully. Are you practicing mindfulness meditation when you sit and focus on an object? Is it mindfulness meditation when you're just paying attention to something? No, that's just focusing on an object. Or what if you are just being aware? What if the meditating mind is full of unwholesome mental qualities, such as feelings of thinking of regret, thinking of taking vengeance, thinking of unhappiness? So these are unwholesome mental qualities. Let's say you are knowing, watching, and being aware. What is the object? Mind and or body. And what is mind? Or in other words, what is being observed and what is doing the observing? Shouldn't you investigate this? Can this kind of investigative quality arise in a yogi who is just intent on observing objects? Can a yogi who's just contented with peaceful mental states get insights into the nature of mind and body? No. The yogi will just cling to that peaceful state, working to stay longer in that state. There's no possibility for wisdom to arise then. So, in mindfulness meditation, we don't need to cultivate or work on objects or what we observe. We can and will need to develop how we observe. We do this by first noticing or acknowledging how the mind is already observing. Is it agitated or calm? Is there some kind of wisdom present? You don't need to try to change how the mind is observing. You do want to take note of how it is observing and the corresponding effects of observing in that way. Over time, you will notice different causes and effects. When you have repeatedly observed and seen different scenarios, you will begin to better understand the relationship of how the state of mind and the thoughts in the mind affect the way you feel about the object or what you are observing. When you have repeatedly observed and seen different scenarios, you will begin to better understand the relationship of how the state of mind and the thoughts in the mind affect the way you feel about the object or what you're observing. Start with an awareness of any object. As you maintain awareness, keep checking the mind. What is the mind aware of? When it is aware, is the mind at ease or not? Is it relaxed? What is the attitude in the mind? Keep checking. Be mindful that you're not just intent on objects. While being mindful in walking, keep checking the mind to see whether it is impatient or relaxed. Is that hard to know? No. You just need to keep checking the mind, right? Is it so hard to be aware of the mind? At this point, it's fine to be aware of more apparent mental states and working of the mind. Don't go looking for anything subtle just yet. How is the mind? Is it feeling at peace or is it tense? Is it tired? You can know, can't you? Observe the mind. What is happening? Here are some things you might want to know. With what kind of mind are you being aware? How does the mind feel when you're aware of this object? Try to observe mind-object relationships like this. It is important to have an awareness of these kinds of causal relationships and connections in practice. Use any object to develop awareness. Which is better, watching the breath or watching the abdomen? Neither is better than the other. They are the same. You should not prefer one over the other. If you do, you are attached to an object. The object at the nostrils is an object. The object at the abdomen is an object. Sound is an object. Sound is an object. Heat is an object. In Vipassana or insight meditation, the eyes are one sense door and the ears are another sense door. Can you become aware with any object? Can you start with sounds? Do you have to go looking for sounds? Aren't they always there? You know that there is sound. Take whatever object is available. There's no need to look for very subtle objects. A yogi with awareness, wisdom, will use any object to develop sati, which is mindfulness, samadhi, which is tranquility, and panya, which is wisdom, instead of growing in craving, aversion, or delusion. The mind will grow in strength as you practice with ease and consistent awareness. Remember that the object is not important. The observing mind with the right attitude is more important.